and say these are the things that we like, all of a sudden we have the community doing all of these different things like Project 60, Project 70. Everybody's saying, oh my goodness, I love the old leveling experience. I'm so excited for vanilla. Do you think this has anything to do with that? That they're like, okay, let's make it harder to level again? Because this is an experience that people have been asking for. People want the vanilla servers. People are kind of asking for two things right now. It's like, oh no, I want to instantly be able to breeze through leveling. And I understand now is one of the times people are going to want to level, because all of a sudden there's an incentive to level these allied races, right? You're going to be able to get these heirlooms. But just a few short months ago, people were bitching because they didn't have the vanilla experience. Do you think that maybe that's one of the reasons that could be
So we had this conversation yesterday on my stream. And people were basically saying that the WoW community doesn't know what it wants because people said leveling was too short and they wanted to make it longer. And now that they've made it longer, people are complaining that it's too long. Now, number one, that there's a lot of gray area in between black and white. Number two is that might not necessarily be the same group of people. You could have the people that are completely happy with leveling being very fast, that were quiet and happy, and they never posted on the forums or had anything to say because they were just quietly enjoying the game. And then you had the people that wanted it to take longer, and those people were complaining, and then it was changed, and then it flipped, where you had the people that were completely happy with leveling being very fast. Now they are unhappy with it, and they're the ones posting on the forums. So it's not necessarily like the WoW community is just one huge hive mind that doesn't know what it wants. It's more that people... It's full of so many different types of people that want different things. Anything that Blizzard does is going to be met with some form of pushback by some group in the community.
Choice is the solution. That's what I was suggesting. Like, if you have the choice of having one way or the other, that's fine. In terms of what Rich said in terms of the boost, I think the initial reason that came in was because the levels had got so high, because the game had been out for so long, that it was off-putting for new players. People were like, just hearing 100. They're like, I don't want to get 100 levels. There's no context to it, but it sounds a lot. And that was something that Blizzard had a problem with. It's like, well, we've had the game out for a decade now, and people are, look, new players think that's just a huge amount of work without getting started. So the boost kind of made sense. It's like, you can get there straight away. And encourage word of mouth from friends as well. No, join me and we'll boost you up and I'll take you straight into heroics or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it whatsoever. I do think leveling needed something to be done though, because it was broken. It was really broken, one-shotting everything. And you can imagine a new player coming in, and that wasn't too far away from what new players were getting as well. They're pretty much just stomping through the world. And the game must look crap, right?
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that heirlooms were a mistake?
No, because I think there's people who've played for a decade and they don't want to do this immersive leveling experience.
Here's why I wish they had done heirlooms differently. I don't think heirlooms as a fundamental accelerator for leveling a character are bad, but I feel like heirlooms replacing all of your gear slots makes leveling boring. I remember like leveling up new characters in like Burning Crusade and Vanilla, and or not Vanilla, Wrath of the Lich King, and you were able to get these different pieces of gear along the way of leveling, and it made it more interesting. Well, and now I don't think that we have that experience at all.
You talk about this, and I want to hear more about Preach from this, but Preach is talking about choice, right? And having the choice. You kind of signed up for that when you put on the heirlooms. I understand that black and white, there is a gray area in between. Yeah. Maybe the leveling system right now has gone too far. But when you put on the heirlooms, in my opinion, you're basically saying, I am here to get through this as fast as I can because I want this tune. I want a shaman, for example. I want to be able to play it through the experience that I already know is waiting for me at the end game. And that experience that you had, as great as it is, it was something that you had the first time, and most likely you didn't want to experience again. That's why you put on the heirlooms.
I don't think we're really appreciating how wide this gray area is. We keep calling it like the gray area, like it's a small thing. It's actually, I think it's enormous. There are some people who, for them, leveling is WoW. That's all they do.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah, there's people with 20 or 30 capped characters or something, and all they do is they cap, they don't know really what to do at endgame, they're not interested in it, they just start again on a different server, and they just level all the way through it. And for those guys, they were, like you said, they were craving a better leveling experience, where getting quest rewards was an exciting moment, and fighting elites was a tougher thing, and I have no issue with that either. I think that's fine. That's your choice to do that. I just also think we could have the choice to not do that if we're not interested in it. Like you said, you found it exciting in Wrath. For me, I'd lost interest by then. Like, because probably because I was raid focused, if I needed to level, it's because I wanted to raid on it. I wanted to try this out in a raid environment. I have no interest in going to Ashenvale and seeing, what the boars are doing and stuff. So that's why I thought Elrons were a really good idea.
I think you don't feel like the idea of like revisiting the idea and maybe tuning Erlunds to just do a better function and boosting the character's level gain. I think would be a great solution to
even if it's one item, they could have a trinket of XP gain.
That's what I'm saying.
They just need to be all
I'm okay with the idea of accelerating the leveling process, but I think it's really cool whenever you get new awesome pieces of gear while you're leveling on your new character. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I would transition to expansions now, because it was always good when you got to TBC to do the first dungeon. And you
exactly.
had all the quests, right? They gave you the shoulders.
Everything upgraded.
The clown suit came out to play. Oh, good times.
Yeah, it's cool. And I feel like you don't have that experience now, because you just get the heirlooms that replace every slot.
Like, I love leveling and not transmugging and actually feeling like a tough game.
Apparently that's a sin.
I wish the War Master gave you a tabard that would just increase your experience by 50%. I think that'd be really cool.
I don't want to do that either, though. Choice, why are you oppressing me?
Oppressing
I don't want to play by your rules, man.
That's right.
You know it's ridiculous? Doing the game to get the allied races? Joke.
Doing the game?
Playing the game. I read so many
did
people
you
who
read
bought
the
Battle for
forums?
Azeroth and didn't read how to get the allied races, and they're so mad.
They want a refund.
They want a refund.
Wait, there are people who want refunds
So
because
here, this is hilarious. We read this on my stream. I was reading the forums. This is going to be a new segment on my stream. It's just reading really dumb things people say on the forums. Basically, this guy, I'm almost sure this was a troll post, but this guy said that like he had gotten his kid really excited to play WoW, and then his kid didn't know what race to play, and then he finally found out that he wanted to play a Nightborn, and then he found out that because his dad didn't farm out the reputation for the Nightborn, that he wouldn't be able to do it. And so basically, like, everybody was feeling bad for like Blizzard for creating this situation. But then I think I made like a post on it where I was talking about like, can you believe, your dad doesn't love you enough to farm Suramar rep or something like that. And it's really silly, right?
It's such
really
a lie
silly
as well.
Well, it is a lie, because I went over to the dude's, what do you call it, his like armory, and he had the legendary campaign done, all 12 class campaigns. Oh yeah, you can't find the time to do world quests for a half hour a day. Give me a break.
Not only that, I know people who can play for years who can't find the allied race button. And they were looking at the character select screen for ages, looking for where to press the damn quite brutal, right? Terrible father, man. You need to fix it.
I think it's nice to start at this place though, because there are so many different things that we're going to talk about today. And I feel like one of the weird underlying themes of this episode is now there are so many players that we just don't know what the hell they're up to and what they're doing.
When LFD came out, man. Like, I never knew what these players existed, and then Raph came out with LFD, and I was like, who the hell are these people? What's going on?
Like, I guess you hardcore rated longer than I have, because like you were doing it back in vanilla and DC. Like, I only really started like in the middle of Burning Crusade towards the end, actually. And so I was in those guilds that spent 1 year in Karazhan. I knew who they were. I knew exactly who they were. And as soon as LFD came out, I was queuing with them again. And it's like, that's not...
But those guilds aren't even that weird, right? Like, they just weren't good. Like, I still understand, because I was in a lot of those guilds in BC, too. Like, BC was when I actually figured out how to use my thumbs, because I had become 14 years old all of a sudden, and now it's like, oh, my brain works. Like, don't even get me started on vanilla, right? I definitely explored the content quite a bit, and I managed to sneak into stuff, and I have some great memories, but at the end of the day, it was really BC when I started to become a real human. But the thing was those guilds that spent like a year in Karazhan, you understand what they're trying to get out of the game, right? They are trying to get through the top of the concept. They might just be struggling to do it. There are players out there who are literally just farming like a mop dungeon, like one mop dungeon, right? And when we're at this point right now, because we're going to talk about Antorus, we're going to talk about the Q&A, and we're going to start to look ahead to BFA with the rest of the episode. And as we look ahead to BFA, there's going to be some stuff that it's probably targeting these players that we just don't understand, and we have to try to.
Yeah. It's pretty
we just have to try to. Yeah.
Well, my point was that you only know what you're surrounded by every day, right? In WoW.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I think we talked about last time. Like so many people in my community who've started later, say since after Kata, they don't really know what a guild is, because every guild they've ever been in has been trash, because that's when Kata started the guild achievements. So I say things like, you need to find a guild, and they're like, I'm in a guild, I've always been in a guild, it's just trade chat, but it's a green text. And that's what they think guilds are. And the same with these players. Like, if you only play with your friends, like we had to in all the way up till LFD came out, you never really knew there were players who didn't know how to turn with a mouse, right? You just didn't know. I'm not mocking those guys. You just didn't know they really existed because you were surrounded by your friends all the time. Then you walked into LFD, and for everybody, it was like, what is this? What's going on? And then they probably had the same thought of a guy who was doing like 70% of the damage. Like, why is this one guy doing 70% of all the damage? That never happens.
You did a video about the silver proving grounds, and I tested it. And I went into Everbloom normal mode, and I queued in with a Warlock with, you know, that treasure finding necklace that you buy in Shatrat City that's a white item that does nothing?
Yeah.
He had it on.
That's not his fault, though, right?
I think it is.
No.
Somebody has to teach you, though. I think that's the funny thing, because you talk about the guild not existing in the way that it used to. There are so many guilds that I was in the past that still, even though we were maybe raiding together, it didn't feel like a guild in the past. When the guild changes, the way that players learn changes in a huge way too. I remember the first really good guild that I got in PC that was actually a guild that, I say really good, but it spent a lot of time trying to get through things like Karazhan, right? But the thing was there was a Warlock in there, and I was probably a keyboard turner before then. I was life tapping after every spell because I never wanted to different things like that you have someone teach you, and then you meet better people because you're a little bit better, and then those better people teach you, and you kind of move through the community and everyone was making everyone better. That's not exactly the way the world works now, when there are so many disposable people who are essentially NPCs. You queue up in LFG, it may as well be Illidan mashing the boss, because that person, I'll never talk to them, have a real conversation with them or anything. I'm mostly just talking shit on them, and I won't say it in the game because I don't want to be toxic. You can't really help them in the same way. It's weird. It's weird.
Well, they're just disposable. They're basically NPCs, and that's the problem. And I think that a lot of these systems over the years have kind of eroded that personal connection that people have with the game, right? And I think that Blizzard's doing some good things in Battle for Azeroth to bring in the communities and all, and I think that's a really good idea. And Diablo 3 has those already, and I think they're absolutely going to be helpful, right? Having communities for different PvP stuff. And maybe you would have people that are actually getting into these communities to learn and be part of stuff. But the problem is that how much of that is going to be voluntary and how much of that is going to be heavily incentivized. Because
there's actually, there's a segue here that I kind of feel like we should jump into it. I wanted to talk to Preach, because last time, Preach, you were on, we talked about raids so far in Legion in general, and it was a really good conversation. But I think I might leave that for now. We'll get back to Antorus and we'll talk about the Q&A first, because now that Asmongold's brought up PvP, there was oddly a huge focus on PvP in the Battle for Azeroth. But this is I don't want to go deep into it, but I was surprised. And do you feel like that's going to be a focus of BFA in a way that we didn't expect it to be?
I hope you're not asking me this, right?
I know I'm asking you. As someone who is primarily focused on PvE. I obviously do both, and we've kind of said in the past that Hodden's way more focused on PvP, and then Zach's going to be more focused on the PvE stuff. But as a PvE player, all of a sudden I feel like half of that Q&A was focused on PvP. Were you like, what the hell, get out? Or
well, I kind of zoned out, if I'm being totally honest with you. I thought the whole Q&A was just a disguise to say you can pre-order Battle for Azeroth. Here's 50 minutes of fluffy stuff to get us through it.
Oh yeah.
Really, here's PFA's out. Go and do that. We'll talk about some Twitter questions.
Is it really a coincidence that they spent the first half hour talking about allied races that coincidentally came out the same day?
Yeah, exactly. I
I
barely listen to the PvP, so I'm really sorry.
It honestly helps too that Laura is involved with the Q&A, right? And he's heavily invested in PvP. So he, I'm not gonna say he's biased to PvP, but I think he will choose.
He's an advocate.
He's an advocate, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. This was 100% for promoting the pre-purchase. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
nothing-
Can you
nothing
believe
wrong at all.
how terrible Blizzard is for trying to sell their product? Wow, this is horrible.
Yeah, I'm surprised though by this.
We should make a stand. No one here is allowed to stream the beta, right, guys? Unity. Unity.
Alright, moving on. So I was very surprised though by the fact that there was some focus on PvP, but I didn't really feel like there was that much new content that came out in that discussion. In general, let's for now kind of jump back because the allied races I don't feel like there's much to talk about. I guess we can knock it out really quick. I mean, allied races are out. They're there. Great. I think the one thing that they said that was interesting is that, and I think it's good in general, is we're going to meet more races in future expansions, and there's going to be a way for them to actually get acclimated into a class in a race that you can play. Sure.
Volpera, man. Volpera is coming. The fairies have spoken. It's time. It's happening, dude.
I would be very upset.
Oh no, I'm into it. I like it.
Have you guys noticed that, like, you know, furries have had so much more staying power than bronies? Like, bronies have come and gone. Like, that's done. But furries are here to stay.
It's not sexual. Know that.
Oh, of course not.
No, I got told by a fairy. It's not.
Of course.
I'm not gonna say anything about this.
What is under that sweatshirt? I can see some fur.
Rich Campbell's been a furry the whole time.
Exposed live.
Yeah.
You see my character list is just all warships.
It's all Volpera. There's a secret server you play on that are all Volpera, all name tags ready and ready to go.
So how'd you feel about Antaurus?
Antaurus? I thought Antaurus was a nice change. The only thing I want for BFA, and Antaurus is a big example of this, is Heroic needs to be closer to Mythic. Because the jump right now is ridiculous. It's absolutely insanity. And like Aswan was saying before, there's no incentive right now to do the harder stuff because you get the same sort of gear from Heroic. And the time investment comparison is... They're not even playing the same sport at this point. Like, Heroic is... I'm doing viewer raids pretty much since the last couple of weeks. They're taking like 2 hours to do Heroic or something, 2.5 hours. And one boss in Mythic is now taking, some guilds a month plus. That shouldn't be the way it is. Antaurus is kind of fine. I'm glad they got rid of all the one-shot stuff, which is why a lot of people thought it was super easy, which it isn't. Antaurus is not easy at all. But because they got rid of all this insta-wipe stuff that they had all the way through Nighthold, and that was such a nice change, because we had some mistakes while we were learning, and we managed to recover, and that's a really good feeling. I haven't cleared it, though. We got to Argus, and my guild died 2 days ago, unfortunately. So there's one boss left standing for me. But everything else was kind of okay. I can't say there's a standout boss in there for me. I wish there was, but there's nothing that super excited me in Antaurus. But the big problem I have with it is just the progression curve. Not Heroic feels like slightly harder than normal. Mm-hmm. That's how it felt to me. But I'm not in a Heroic progression guild, so I'm not sure if that's really accurate. But the difference, the step up, seems.
I think that plugging Heroic was a lot harder, right? And it really depends on the bosses, right? So like Kangaroth was substantially harder on Heroic than it was on normal. Coven was really hard on Heroic compared to normal mode, right? Because you had like the circles you had to stand in that you didn't have that on normal mode. So if you got like Golganath or something first, that would happen at the exact same time as the circles, and you'd always have people die. So I think for Heroic guilds, some of the later bosses are going to be a lot harder, but for something like even Argus, it's just more health, right? I mean, there's not really a lot of other... Yeah, it was a joke.
Argus is very, very easy for normal and Heroic.
Well, I know guilds that saved entire raid nights for him. Like, they got to Argus and were like, okay, we're going to stop now. We're going to do our homework and research this. And they came in and killed it in 10 minutes. And they're like, I don't know what happened here. This is so strange. Yeah. Amadthul? No. Oh.
I do think, though, I think it is important that there weren't one-shot mechanics in the way that there were in the past, because it almost made... You said that some people said it wasn't a difficult raid. It just wasn't fluky. Like, you didn't have fluky attempts that were throwaway attempts because one crazy thing happened. We've had some of the dirtiest kills in my raid, like just dirty kills where we go, okay, look, this wasn't a good kill. Like, this is how we need to improve. Type situation.
But you got there and you fought through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the fun